All right, we have an audience question here going first to Mr. Perkins, and it just says, enough beating around the bush already. Tell me why if I vote for you, Greensboro will be better off than if I vote for your challenger.
Well, I think
going first to Mr. Perkins.
I think you have to look at the visionary leadership style and the energy that I've employed. I mean, we decided that we identified our priorities, the jobs, the public safety, and the infrastructure, and we focused on that stuff. But I'm the kind of person that makes community conversations happen. And I engage folks from all over town. They have conversations about those 3 priority topics. And then you keep persistently moving those things along. And yes, they can happen. You have to be determined to be a mayor. You have to say, I'm not going to try to win a popularity contest. I'm going to do what's in the best interest of this city. And I think you can look at our priorities and you can identify action items that have been taken and will occur because of my leadership. And I think that deserves another term in office.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughan?
Thank you. You know, Mr. Perkins has been on the city council since 1993, except for a 2-year hiatus. You know, a lot's happened in the last 20 years. When he was first on council, times were good, but then times got bad. And I think it was important at that point to show the leadership, even not as mayor, to say, you know, we are in a problem here. We've got to really reprioritize. We've got to focus on jobs. We've got to focus on people. I know what it's like to bring communities together. I have been to countless community discussions, and I haven't seen you at those discussions. I have built relationships. I know what it's like. You know, Mr. Perkins, you didn't come out to East Greensboro until Goldie Wells called you out. And then there was the East Summit. And then, you know, after the summit, a few months later, she had to call back again. It's important, not just as a council member, but when you see that the economy is turning, you felt that in your own business. It was extending to the city council. We need somebody who is really going to take charge. 20 years is a long time. And I think that I'm in a good position to really hit the ground running and do what we need to do to move this city forward.
Audience question now. It says, if you're elected mayor, will you support city council pronouncements on general issues such as equality, right to bear firearms, other things that are outside of the direct legislative purview of the city council? And that question, we're going now with audience questions to Ms. Vaughan first.
Well, we have done that. We certainly took a stance on Amendment 1. We took another stance on campaign funding. You know, it really, when we take a stance on something like that, we know that it doesn't hold a lot of weight. But I do think that it shows what Greensboro is really about and what our priorities are. You know, it is a good community conversation, and if it's something that's important to people, I think that we can take a look at it. It doesn't mean that we should spend an inordinate amount of time, but you know, we should send that message to the legislature and to our federal officials and let them know that how we as a city feel about certain issues.
Mr. Perkins?
You know, the right to bear arms is not something that I would take on as a city council issue because I think we have other priorities at this point that we need to work with. And having met on a number of occasions with big city mayors from all over the state and all over the country, you've got to support your police chief. And I think that we are doing a great job of that as a city council. And so I wouldn't want to get into an issue there that would be divisive with our citizens and our police department. We did come out and as a council on an 8-1 vote, oppose Amendment 1. And I can tell you that that is one of the proudest nights that I've had as a sitting council person, as a mayor, in opposing that amendment, because I think it's wrong. I think we're on the right side of history, and I would fight to see it removed tomorrow.
Amanda Lamert presenting a question to Mr. Perkins first.
Tell us how you work with your council colleagues. Can you give us an example of what you think was a good working relationship this last term?
You know, council colleagues are great. I've been a council colleague to a number of mayors. I served under Carolyn Allen, Keith Holliday, Yvonne Johnson, and Bill Knight. So I've seen contrasting styles. And you've got to recognize that as a mayor, you're not always going to keep the council happy, because it's your job to take a leadership position, take a stance, and then sometimes they come up there with you and they're shouting and all happy. Sometimes you just got to drag them to the party, and that's just what a mayor does. But when you drag them to the party too hard, what you do is you take your talking stick that your buddy Lonnie Revels gave you, a family gave after he passed away, and you pull it off your shelf and you take it to that council retreat and you say, folks, we're going to take turns talking. And then you come up with a system of council committees to basically empower the different council members so that they could get engaged in the issues. It's not all the mayor, it's the whole council. And you know, we solved a lot of problems that way.
Ms. Vaughan?
Thank you. You know, a year into the mayor's term, I think Amanda did an article, How Am I Doing Now? And you made the comment about sometimes you have to drag people along. And I think that probably made 8 of us pretty annoyed. That we don't feel that we need to be dragged along. We are leaders in our own right. But there were some frustrations. I remember when you first put the noise ordinance on the agenda at a 45-degree decibel, we asked you, please take it off so we can have the opportunity to talk about it and work through it. But no, you wanted to push it through, and ultimately there were 5 votes to take it off the agenda. Shortly thereafter, the same thing happened with the War Memorial Stadium. All of a sudden it showed up on an agenda, and none of us were really prepared for it. New council members hadn't even been briefed on it. And so we said, could you please take it off the agenda and let us do a work session on it so we know what's really going to happen? And you said, no, let's just put this through. So again, there were 5 votes to take it off. You know, it does need to be a collaborative process. Respect has to go 2 ways, and I think that's very important. You can't jam leadership down people's throats. You have to bring people to the table and have a good discussion, and not just say, this is the way we're going to do it.
What would your worst fear be at that point?
Well, you know, I don't think I would have any fears, because I've been the mayor for 2 years and we have done a tremendous amount in this city to change Greensboro for the good. And we will continue to do that. What I would get up in the morning and think is, what can I do as the mayor to create jobs in our community? Because that's what I do every single day when I wake up. How can I incrementally advance the ball on the jobs front in this community? To have 20% of Guilford County living below the poverty rate at $23,000 a year for a family of 4 is unacceptable. And every day I wake up and say, how can we advance the ball at the airport? How can we do something in Center City to create an entrepreneurial environment for small business? How can we do this? Now, I came up with an idea of, let's go ahead and get our professionals that that give advice to businesses. Let's get them together, the CPAs, the bankers, and the attorneys separately. And let's tell them what the city can help them do to advise their clients and create jobs. So yes, I've got a concrete idea. First day out of the chute, that's what I want to do.
Ms. Vaughan, the question is what your worst fear would be if you wake up on the morning of November 6th and realize you're going to be the mayor of the city of Greensboro for the next 2 years.
You know, maybe I can't really think of a fear, except maybe that I wouldn't have enough hours that day to get all the things I wanted to get done. I think I would wake up with a great sense of excitement that I would be able to really create a change within the city of Greensboro. And the first thing that I would do is I would reach out to different people to try to build consensus, to build roundtable groups, to get coalitions together, to see exactly what it is, how we can move forward, how we're going to drive this economic development. Get people from different parts of the city talking to each other. I don't think I have any fears. I just think I have ideas and lots of excitement.
We'd like to ask each of the candidates now, they give them each 90 seconds, if there's anything that any comments they've made or anything that has come up this evening during this forum that they would like to expound on further. Not just some general conclusion about your candidacy, but something in particular that you want to come back and touch on further. Ms. Vaughan, you're first.
You know, I just want to say it was great to be here tonight and to have this discussion. I think we've covered just about everything. You know, one thing I really want to drive home is that I am a consensus builder and that I do my homework on everything. I think it is very important to have somebody who is detail-oriented. That doesn't mean you can't have big ideas. It's not an either-or proposition. You can do both. One thing that I do is I do my homework, and I make sure that when we're making a decision, we're making a decision that is best for the city of Greensboro and not for certain interest groups. You know, I'm excited to be able to move things along. There have been a lot of hot-button issues that this council has dealt with, whether it's the tree committee or post-RUCO or the nightclub ordinance. We did a lot of homework. We got a lot of things done. And it's important. I do my own homework. I like to trust but verify. And that is something that, that is kind of a hallmark of my personality. That's the way I am.
Mr. Perkins, anything you'd like to revisit from earlier in the forum?
Yes, I think you can look at a list of accomplishments that start with hiring a manager and a city attorney, engaging ourselves in the federal government with a lobbyist, working out a deal with the county commissioners for $19 million sewer improvements that will open up some 9,000 acres on the east side of the county, initiating a performing arts center drive that's resulted in $35 million being pledged from the private sector. Working at the airport to secure funding for a taxiway, and yes, we will have 417 new jobs, and we'll cut the ribbon on Thursday at Honda Jet. Working to make sure that the workforce that we develop in this community is first class, because that's how you compete in a very competitive global environment for jobs. If you've got those kinds of successes, it's like the kind of successes that a quarterback has going down the field, and they've completed 7 or 8 passes in a row, and they're trying to go score the winning touchdown. You don't substitute for that quarterback. You keep him in place, and you go and get across the goal line. That's why I want to be your mayor.
We're going to wrap this up now. It'd be a very appropriate time for everyone to thank the candidates and give them a round of applause.